Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is part 2 of our talk around men's mental health. So last week we started talking about the biopsychosocial framework of looking at boys and men today. And then we went on to talk a little bit about masculine vulnerability 1.0 versus 2.0, just being vulnerable today, expressing one's thoughts and feelings and the acceptance of it, and really how men are charged to continue with vulnerability and resilience as a form of leadership. And then we talked a little bit about faith as an anchor or faith as a cage. And I brought that up in last week's episode, sort of at the last minute, because when I was doing my research on these 2 episodes, I saw there was a lot of people going back to the traditional faith. So I wanted to include that because I was like, okay, that's interesting with all we're talking about with men's mental health and the need for services for boys, adolescents, young men, really men of every age. I think there is this whole piece about how many of them are going back to traditional faiths and why are they doing that, which is not a bad thing. I'm not knocking it, but why is that? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's the search for community, acceptance, where they can feel seen and heard. And so this is the episode where we're continuing to talk and get into it a little bit deeper around pornography and isolation, also a huge problem today, what's going on in the digital world and how, well, we're always all on our phones, I think, but what needs males are getting through pornography and through their phones. That's not being met in the real world, which is a huge shift in our behaviors from even, I'd say, 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And don't you feel like a lot of times it's the males in our lives that guide that whole experience, the religious experience potentially, or not? Like if they're not making a push for it to lead their family to do or go to the church or whatever it might be, a lot of times the family follows that lead. Don't you feel?
I think traditionally, like with my dad 30, 40, 50 years ago, I don't think it's that way as much.
Not
anymore.
As much now?
No. I don't think men, no, and I like it. I mean, men are not the air quote traditional leaders. Most of us, I think myself, my sisters, my friends, my clients, my colleagues, coworkers, I think that at least what I see today, and now I'm in a suburb of a large city, the 3rd largest city in the United States. So most of the people I'm around, most of the people have some college education, if not are college educated. Most people, the relationships are egalitarian. It's not the traditional marriages of our parents. So I do think it's different. And I don't think that men are the ones, air quote, leading the family or their wives or their partners. I think it's women, maybe the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know this research on that, but
I'm just
the
asking,
data shows, but that's just anecdotally what I'm seeing and my lived experience.
Yeah. And I asked the question because I'm hinting at maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's where we need to go. Maybe the males in our lives need to take a step up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And why is it that they haven't?
Right. Great question.
That's the question.
There you go. Even better question.
And I don't think women today, now, okay, there's always going to be a subsect, SECT, of women who they don't care. They want their traditional marriage. Maybe they're very conservative thinking or very right leaning. You know, I don't know. I don't know many of those people. Maybe they love the man as the leader of the home, the spiritual leader. And there are times I have felt, honestly, like I've wanted you to step up more as a spiritual leader. And you have not always done it. I haven't seen it. I saw it with my dad. But my father loved him. He was a great leader. He had a huge leadership personality. Yeah, he was a leader in the home. My mother was right there behind him. So I saw both of them really as leaders to me, especially in the spiritual realm. So I don't know. I think that there's times when I wish you would, in the past, step up more because I felt like it was me who was leading the way. But I don't know. You were right there with me. And because I'm more outspoken than you, I'm the one who's going to talk about the issues. And I'm the one who's going to bring them up. I'm the one who comes in and is like, all right, we got to talk. Like what's going on and talking about the moral issue, the spiritual issues in our family chats.
Yeah.
When the kids are younger, even now we'll do it. And I think that that's my personality. It's also the family I came from. We talked about all kinds of things. You didn't come from that. So I think in many ways, your evangelical background, which is not your life today, but your evangelical background has women being subservient, submissive to men, but not all the men are the leaders. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're not up for it.
Yeah.
Right? Either they're not up for it or they haven't decided to be up for it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, you could speak about that. I don't know where that comes from or what that's about, but I know that that's preached a lot in the evangelical circles.
It is. And then you're going back decades now. And I think it's become tremendously watered down over time. If you think about how it was set up and how it performed back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that's one vision of it. And then I think once you got into the 80s, I think things
started to fire and brimstone,
yes.
Traditional Christian. I didn't see that. So I grew up Catholic. I didn't actually see that in Catholicism. I didn't see that in religion, at church. I didn't see that. I didn't hear it preached about from priests, from the pulpit or wherever it was. They were on the altar in front of the podium. I never heard that.
Yeah.
Never heard that language. I think you did.
That's all I heard. That was my experience.
Really?
But yeah, totally.
The men being the leaders of the home?
Yeah.
And
pulling passages of scripture out to
back that
support that. Yeah. And so you were kind of charged as a male back in those days to be that person.
Yeah.
And in my bubble, that happened most of the time. But I think once you got into the 80s, 90s, I think things started to shift a little bit. I think that's when you started to see some of the churches start to fracture a little bit because people inside the church thought they were bigger than the church itself. And there was some divide going on, tremendous divide going on, not just in my world, but you could make a case that it was going on all over the place. And then things started to shift. And why did that happen? And why did it continue to affect the man's role going forward into today? I don't know. I don't know why. Nobody ever said, hang on a second, I'm going to rise up against that. And let's rethink how it used to be and bring some of that back.
This is an interesting conversation because as you're speaking right now, I'm like, well, you heard it, but your personality and your wiring, that's just not you. You're not verbose. Maybe I can be at times. We are both extroverts, but we're extroverts in different ways. And I don't know. I'd love to hear any other podcasters or read an article about how the evangelical church is today and how it has changed. And what is it like for men growing up in those religions? So evangelicalism is a sort of an offshoot of the mainline Protestant churches. So I'm thinking more about the evangelicals, the mainline Protestants, because I think of the mainline Protestants as being like mainline Catholics. Most of our marriages, I think, are pretty egalitarian. If you're a stay-at-home mom or you work outside the home, stay-at-home moms work harder than I've done both. Staying at home is not an easy job. My gosh, it's the hardest job. So many of my friends are like, I could never stay home. I need to go to work because I can't be home with the kids all day. It's really hard, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who's done it knows. I think it's interesting. I would love to hear someone from within that religion talk about how it has changed and what it's like for men today and what are their wives like? Because I think women are empowered so much more than we were. And I think you're empowered I don't know. I'm just so curious about those couples.
Well, I would like to hear what is the basis for the religious education within that church now. I'm sure leaning on the Old Testament as much as it used to be, is that still the case? I don't know. I don't know that. But that would be fascinating to understand because if you grew up in a home where the focus was the Old Testament, and that's and to reference your fire and brimstone kind of aura back in the day, I don't know that that's still the case today. So if it's not, what is it?
Right.
Don't know.
So we started off this part 2 recapping last week's, and we've already spent 10 minutes talking about the faith piece, which is so interesting. Yeah. And I think that I'm not an expert in this at all, and either are you. We're just kind of shooting the breeze about this with all of you who are watching and listening about the changes more in evangelicalism, but in faith today. And I wonder about Muslims, and they may have a very different view of what it's like. We see on television, we see in media, Islam and the women wearing the hijabs and burqas. And I would love to talk to somebody who's Muslim about their faith. And because I know Muslim women over the years who are very liberated in their marriage and in their religion. They accept the hijab, but they accept it. Mm-hmm. And it's different versus I have to do this versus no, I want to do this. This is how I express myself in my culture and in my faith. I would love to hear from women from other faiths, what it's been like for them and the history of the role of women. Judaism, most of the women I know, many of the women I know who are of the Jewish faith, they're Reformed. I don't know any, I'm not friends with any Orthodox Jewish women right now. I went to a graduate school with many and was friendly, but my friends are Reformed. A couple are conservative, and they're just like us. Their marriages are egalitarian. They're very equal, the same. But it's interesting how it's changed and what it does or doesn't do for men today.
Yeah.
And what do they find within these traditional institutions, men?
Right. And I think you have to say, too, that we live in a world that is very good at empowering us to find our voice now.
Yes.
And I don't know that that was the case back in, pick a decade, right? As much as it is today, for sure. So if you are empowered to find your voice, encouraged to find your voice, you're pumped up because the number of followers you have and the people that listen to you, you're going to question all things. And in the context of what we're talking about, you're going to question your religion. You're going to question religion in general.
And I think it's healthy to do that.
It is healthy to do that.
Healthy to do that at some point in your life. For many people, it's in the late teens, early 20s. It's continued identity formation. I think if you're not doing it, that will concern me a little bit.
Yeah.
You ought to be questioning.
You should, I think, question it, yes. And I also think there's also a line in the sand where it's like the questioning of it for yourself goes overboard when you question it for others and you try and preach your stance, right? Like all of a sudden it's become like, okay, you can question it for yourself so you can form yourself and groom yourself and help your kids get exposed to religion. But then at some point it's over the line. And I think we've seen that recently where it's like, no, that's the big step over the line. Maybe that's just a little too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So that's our continued conversation from part one. Now we're today going to get into, let's talk about the whole issue around men, boys, pornography, isolation, and this digital detour that's been taken. So pornography and compulsive masturbation. So, okay, I should probably have said this earlier. This is not a viewing or a listening episode for younger ears. So I don't think I need to say that, but I'm saying it.
Sometimes you should put that out there, right? Just in case.
Yeah. So, okay. Pornography, compulsive masturbation. It gives the illusion of intimacy without the vulnerability of risk. But over time, what happens is it can erode relational satisfaction in real life with another human being. It creates a desensitization really around, I think, women and sex, and it deepens isolation for males. And this is a problem that I know this problem because I hear about it in my practice and in my personal life with conversations that I'm having with people. Pornography is a problem. And I wouldn't say it was a problem 20, 30 years ago when I was seeing clients, and it didn't come up a whole lot, but if it did come up in my work with couples way back, I didn't hear about it as much. And my thought then was, well, if you're looking at porn, you're watching porn together to enhance your sexual experience with each other, that's one thing. But over the years, as time went by, I wasn't hearing that. I was hearing the women coming to me saying, we're not having sex. I think he's looking at porn. I saw porn on his BlackBerry or on his computer. I was upstairs. Why didn't he come to me? Why is he doing that? Or sex life sucks. And now I know he's looking at porn. That's by and large what I heard over the past 20 plus years. So I'm going to read to you all some statistics, 2024, late 2024, 2045 statistics. So about 70 to 78% of men today are watching porn compared to 30 to 44% of women.
Did you say 70 to 78%
of men watch porn? It's huge. It is huge, and nobody's talking about it. This is the thing.
Wow.
And what drives me crazy, and because I'm in the trenches with my clients, it's sort of laughed about on television, on social media, podcasts, laughing about watching porn, stand-up comedy, stand-up comics love to talk about porn. It's like, chuckle. It's not that funny. I mean, and I love stand-up comedy. You know, I'm all about comedy and comics. That piece to me, I don't find funny because as a clinician, I see the dark side. I see the sad side. I see the depression side. I see what it does to relationships. I see what it does to men. And it's concerning because they're doing this alone, 70 to 78%. I was surprised by the 30 to 44% of women who are watching porn. That's interesting to me.
Yes.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Among 18 to 24-year-olds, our sons, our nephews, 94% of men and 61% of women report having viewed porn. And that's important. 94% of men between the ages of 18 to 24 have said, yes, I have seen it. And so that goes into the world that I work in. I've had males say to me, I saw porn when I was 11. I saw it on my older brother's phone. I saw it on his laptop. I saw it in my uncle, when I went over to my uncle's house, it was on. I saw it. Someone showed it to me. My best friend's older 17-year-old brother showed me porn when I was 12, 13. I'd never thought about something like that before. And then you can't unsee it once you've seen it and what it does to the brain. I probably should find somebody to come on to talk who's an expert in the male brain and what it actually does to the brain.
Yeah.
You can't unsee it. And there's a titillation that they know in some ways is not right and are curious and they want to know more and they want to go back. We'll see it again and want to see more. Well, what about that? And then what about that? And that's what happens. What it lights up in the brain.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about it. I don't think that's dopamine. It's lighting up another part of the brain that keeps them coming back.
Well, you can think of things probably yourself personally that you've seen, whether you wished now that you hadn't. And it doesn't have to be.
But I have as a female, I've seen porn. I've seen it since I was in high school. It's very different for me as a woman. I'm like, oh God, oh geez.
Yeah.
And I know too much about the porn industry because of the research I did over 20 years ago on it. I have such a different view about the porn industry because I know how they treat women and how they have treated women now, maybe, and not using condoms. I mean, I don't get me started on the porn industry because I have so much of an opinion about it and outside of morality, just how women have historically been treated. So I don't have any desire to look at it, that's why I don't think the comics talking about it, it's not funny to me.
Right. No, I don't find it funny like that either. But my point is, though, there's things that you probably have seen. I'm talking about the wiring inside our brains right now. So for you as a female, there are things that you've seen. Maybe it's a scary movie. Maybe it was I don't know. There's got to be some things in your head where you're like, wow, I saw that and I don't ever need to see that again. And when I think about it, it's got me. Yeah. It's got me thinking, and it's like not good stuff. It's like, ooh, I don't want to remember that.
Yeah, I don't know how to compare it. That's why we need a neuroscientist, because I don't know how to compare it to me watching a scary movie. No, I'm not really into horror anymore because I can't sleep at night, but a thriller. So maybe even thriller sometimes, but I'll watch a thriller. And what is that doing to my brain? The part of my brain that's thrilled by it and wants to look away, but still is like, oh, but I want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Is that the same part of the female brain? I don't know. I don't think so, Tim. That's getting stimulated in the male brain when they're looking at porn.
No, I don't think it's the same.
Women are just not turned on by pornography the way men are. So that's why it was interesting to see the 30 to 44% of women watch porn.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. Okay. So maybe that's something else to go into further at a future date. So let's talk about the weekly use of pornography. It's 87% of men are engaging in weekly viewing of porn versus 28% of women. So I think 28% is still high, but okay. So that's high, 87% of men.
I mean, I don't know why I'm so surprised.
I went to different sources. I checked my statistics on different,
just to see.
I searched different search engines for this. Yeah. About 10.3% of men and 3% of women consider themselves addicted to pornography. And I think it's an addiction. I think it is an addiction.
Why such
we don't talk about enough.
The great disparity there.
Because we're talking about the male brain versus the female brain.
No, I'm talking about the 90 compared to the 10. So there's 90% that have said, yes, I do watch it, but only 10% actually think
I'm addicted to it.
There's only 10% that think that?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a misread? I don't know.
Well, and then I don't know. I don't know. And then I added in, I started to look for research on OnlyFans. So OnlyFans is, you know what OnlyFans is?
No.
You don't know what OnlyFans is?
No.
I've only known about it for a couple of years.
Okay,
so I could sign up.
Tell us.
So I said to OnlyFans is, I have not been to it, but you can sign up. It's kind of like pick your person you want to look at, and it's pornography, but there's other things on there as well. So it's kind of gross. Well, it's not kind of gross. It is gross. I could go and I guess I could choose like a 21-year-old male that I wanted to look at. It's pornography. Maybe he's taking off his clothes. Maybe he's walking naked in his apartment, and I'm just viewing him, and I'm paying to view this person. And I think you pay. I don't know. I'm going to tell a quick story. A couple of years ago when I was in Italy with my son, we were in Rome. I don't know where were we in Rome? Anyways, it doesn't matter. I'll never forget where we were, though, because we were walking across the street, a very busy city street. I think it was Rome. And it wasn't because you were there with us. I don't know. And I said to him, I had heard about it. I'm like, oh, I could make money on OnlyFans. And I said to him, Grafton, have you heard of OnlyFans? It's like, what, he's at this 21 years old, 22 years old. He's annoyed that I'm even bringing up the term
that you're talking about.
That I'm even talking to him about it. He's like, what about it? I was like, I have nice feet. He's like, oh God, Mom, TMI. Like you could just, everything in him wants to throw up. Like, stop talking. I'm like, no, I'm like, I heard about this OnlyFans. Like, what about it? I'm like, well, I have really nice feet, and I think I'm going to put my feet on there and sell my feet, like for people who have foot fetishes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, pay to look at my feet. He's like, that's disgusting. It's so gross. You're not doing that. He's like, you're absolutely not doing that. That's right. I remember we were walking across a busy street, and he's like screaming at me. We must have looked like crazy Americans people at the cars are looking at us. I'm kind of laughing. I'm like, whoa, quite the reaction there. Because I didn't really know what it was.
Right.
I kind of was joking, kind of teasing him. I'm like, oh, I could make like $1,000 in like 4 hours doing this. And I didn't do it. I'm not going to do it. But that's what you could do. Like if you're somebody who has a foot fetish, there are people on there who are going to give you what your fetish is. And you can use your mind about what those fetishes could be.
Yeah.
Porn is a big, big, big part of OnlyFans. So people say it's not really porn, but it is porn. So 70 to 84% of the creators of OnlyFans are women. So 70 to 84% of creators are women. I know of one former Real Housewife, who's on OnlyFans, and she's making a ton of money. She's like gardening topless. And people watch that. Because she's an actress.
That's so
She's a former
bizarre.
Real Housewife star.
Yeah.
And she's in her garden with no shirt on. She's in her mid to late 50s. And she doesn't look the way she did when she was 25. But she still looks pretty darn good. And people pay to watch her in her garden topless, pulling weeds.
I got nothing.
So there's creators.
Yikes.
On OnlyFans. So 70 to 84% of the creators are women.
The fact that you're even using the word creators is embarrassing for them.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And who are the subscribers? Men. 60 to 80% of the subscribers to OnlyFans are men.
Okay.
So 60 to 80% of men are signing up for OnlyFans. They have an account and they're watching these different air quote creators. They're creators. And it's up to 84% are women who are doing it. So here we go. Okay. It's the same thing. Women capture about 84% of the platform's earnings. 84%. So what's the result? Men are consuming, women are creating. So you can do with that and think about that what you will. So this can reinforce a transactional model of intimacy.
Right.
That here we go in the deeper rather than a relational one.
Well, it's what you're describing business. It's supply and demand. Yes. Like if there's a demand for it, then you need somebody to supply it. Right. So there you go. It's exactly right.
It's as old as time. What are brothels, prostitution's the oldest profession in time, right? It's the oldest profession. And it's still going on today. So now we're doing it online. We're doing it on these websites. So women are creating it, men are consuming it. So here's my reflection prompt for all of you if you're interested and you want to do a deeper dive on yourself. Are you using, if you are somebody who engages in pornography, you're engaging in OnlyFans, are you using these digital substitutes to avoid the discomfort of real intimacy in your life? So what is it serving for you? What are you getting from being on watching porn, being on OnlyFans? What are you getting from it? What is it doing for you? Are you lonely? Are you sad? Are you depressed? What are you wanting? What are you yearning for? What are you looking for in your real life?
Right. Well, that's an even bigger question, or maybe a better question is like, what are you missing out on?
The idea of real intimacy with a real human being, flesh and bone, right in front of you, is that scary for you? Does it bring up uncomfortable thoughts and feelings of a relationship? That's what I would encourage you to look at.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's the big question. So I just told you the statistics, and going further, I mean, we said last week, I say this a lot on here. We could talk for hours about these topics. And this is a big one. It's a big one. Okay. The next one we're going to go into a little bit is, I couldn't do men's mental health without talking about politics, race, and identity, because it's a world we live in, right? And I want to talk about not just the white male. I want to talk about all men today in the world. In politics today, in polarized climate that we're living in, men are drawn to ideologies promising belonging and clarity. Now, did you see that in 2024 in the run up to the election with Trump? Big, big, big time, I think. And that goes back to what we just talked about with pornography, the digital world that men are living in. They're feeling alone, they're feeling lonely, and they're feeling detached. And politics, for many of them, serve a need. So this can often exploit masculine and male insecurity as, we're going to give you back your identity. You're going to get it in this party. Come here. This is where we're going to, air quote, feed you. You'll find it here. So politics is a big part of all this. Let's talk about race very quickly. So Black and Latino men, they often face the expectation of being, and this is their tradition, the air quote, strong provider, while carrying systemic inequities and discrimination still today. Have they come a long way? Yes, they've come a long way. Do they still deal with discrimination? Yes. They still deal with systemic inequities? Absolutely, yes. I would say F yes. I'm not going to say the word, but yes, they do.
Yeah.
Whether you want to see it, you want to believe it or not, it's bullshit. They do. They're still dealing with inequities. It's changing, but they're dealing with them. Asian American men, they wrestle with cultural norms around stoicism and duty. Now, I am generalizing, but ask any Asian man and the families they come from. There are these norms around be the stoic and your duty to your family, clashing with the Western calls, the West living in North America, to open up, and in Europe, open up about who you are, open up, share your feelings. That's very, very difficult. Be vulnerable, which we're talking about. I'm talking about it. This is what this episode's about. For Asian men, this is a hard one.
Yeah. How
do they balance the stoic attitude and that I am the leader of this home? And I love their attitudes around family. Your family is your family is your family. The family is everything. You take care of your family. And I think more cultures need to do that. But at the same time, they're not used to being open about what they think and how they feel.
Yeah.
You talk to a 65 to a 95-year-old Asian man living in America today. Is he really going to be talking to you about his deepest thoughts and feelings? Maybe thoughts. I don't know about feelings.
Most likely not.
But they're aware of it. They're aware of living. So it's assimilation versus acculturation, which is, this is what I learned this in undergrad, talking about assimilation. How do you come here to North America, United States, Canada, and how do you assimilate versus acculturate?
Yeah.
That's a huge issue that we're seeing today with so many of the migrants living in America.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. And where do they find themselves in this vast culture that we live in America and United States? Where do they find themselves? Where do they find their people? Where do they feel safe? Where do they feel seen? And where do they feel heard? Where what they think matters or what they say matters. And men in this country are getting lost. That's why they're going to porn. I think a lot of it.
Maybe so. Yeah. I'm just thinking of conversations that I casually have in the workplace, with males that are of a different culture, different backgrounds and different age groups, right? So we're talking anywhere from, it could be in their somewhere in their 20s all the way up to their 80s over the course of time. And man, I'm gonna have to wind my memory back, but just a lot of them, not always, but a lot of them are falling into the camp you're describing of not really wanting to go there, go deep, get into feelings. It's more surfacey. Some will.
It's also the workplace.
It is. But some will, though, and they'll talk a lot about their family and
That's
what's
great.
important to them
Yeah.
and how they're doing this for their aunt or this for their whatever, just trying to be the person that they feel that they should be for their family. And then there's other times where there's literally, we don't even get beyond anything that's on the surface level. You know what I mean? And maybe to your point, maybe because it's a work conversation,
and I talk about this, and I'm actually, as we're speaking, putting together these teaching modules for a website for all of you to go to in the future. And it's going to be paid. There's 6 modules that I'm putting together. And one of them is around vulnerability as strength and resilience as strength. And you're sort of speaking to that a little bit about men in the workplace showing vulnerability. That's actually a leadership skill. That's masculinity 2.0.
Yeah.
We used to consider that an air quote weakness in men. And I think men are changing. And I think that when we're all changing, we see that as, oh no, that's a strength, that you can come into the workplace and you can show vulnerability. You can saying, I'm not sure about this. We really messed up on that. We have to change that. That would be an embarrassment. It would show that I'm weak. I'm not strong. I messed something up. No. That's welcomed today. And that's actually because you have good self-esteem and because you feel good about who you are as a person, you can put it out there with confidence that, yeah, I didn't do so great on that. And here's how I'm going to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of like push aside the dynamics of that employee-employer relationship potentially.
Right.
Right. Because like if you're talking about people at different levels having this type of conversation, the person that is the employee in that conversation, there is a little bit of a limit in terms of where they will let themselves go because of exactly what you're describing of being perceived as weak or vulnerable or not confident or whatever, fill in the blank, right? That's certainly a thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's your insight on race, politics, and identity with men today. Without, like I just said, without having new frameworks for how we define masculinity, political and cultural forces are going to keep filling the void. So we don't want that. Vulnerability, emotional literacy, and community must be reclaimed as essential masculine traits. Really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
The last piece of this is we're going to talk about a new way forward. So before we talk about this new way forward for men and men's mental health, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. hello@annamarcolin.com. If you're looking for coaching, I coach the world over. And if you're looking for therapy in the state of Illinois, don't hesitate. Let's get on a call together and see if I'd be a good fit for you. All right. And please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast with 5 stars. That's the one ask of all of you who are watching or who are listening. Anywhere you are, just take a minute and click 5 stars and just write 1 or 2 sentences. It makes all the difference in the world. I am not paid to do this, and I don't make any money doing this. This is just a labor of love.
Yeah. And share
putting
it.
it out there.
Share it.
And
right?
share it. Share it with people. Yeah. Okay. So, it was something I wanted to mention earlier. I wanted to mention this, and I saved it for this episode, and it was about the porn piece, which was another reason. I think I said it last week, but I want to talk about it a little bit more right now before we get into our conclusion. We were having a conversation a few weeks ago with our friends, and we were talking about our friend was actually running a class. And did I mention it last week when the women were all talking about their sons? So these are women, they're probably their 50s and their 60s, talking about their young adult sons and how they're struggling so much today. And it was a fitness class, but they ended up having this conversation around pornography and males. And my friend was telling us, or our friends were she was telling us that the one woman said, my son said to me, why should I care about having a girlfriend? The mom was like, why don't you have a girlfriend? Well, you should get a girlfriend. You know, are you getting out there? You're pursuing relationships and trying to meet people. He's like, no, why should I? He's like, I have everything I need on my phone. He's like, I don't need to get out there and try to prove and talk about the job I have and how much money I make and have to be embarrassed about the fact that I'm 24 and I still live at home and I can get all my needs met by watching porn. I can pleasure myself. There's the transaction right there. And I can take care of me and I can go about living my life, living at home, trying to get ahead with my job, getting another job, making more money, moving out. But I don't want to have to deal with what comes up inside of me to have to explain to people that I may date off a dating app why I'm still living at home. And I'm not that interested right now.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
I was struck by that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
The woman was kind of flipped. She's like, oh, they're all looking at porn. They're all looking at porn. Because that was her experience with her son. And I was like, wow, you talking to you about that? That's impressive. Because I don't know how many 24-year-olds are talking to their moms about how they watch porn.
Yeah. Well, and also analyzing it as deeply as he did, it sounds like.
Well, he was just so frank and really honest about it.
Yeah.
That I am in a place in my life right now where I'm having to explain. And I know I hear from 24, 25-year-old men who are still in the beginnings of trying to get that career going. And mom and dad are saying, hey, you can live with us, not forever, but you can come back and live here. Most are not paying rent, but some are paying some rent or contributing to the household a little bit. But it doesn't matter. They say it's embarrassing that, especially if they're living in an apartment, they're not living at home. And you are, it's so embarrassing. And they say, I don't want to have to justify or explain to people because it makes me feel like a loser. I feel like a heel. And I don't need to feel like a loser. So maybe that's something for us young women too, to not put judgment, because we don't want to date a 35-year-old who's living in their parents' basement, who still has a bedroom down the hallway from mom and dad's bedroom. No, women don't want that. That's very much a turnoff. And it goes against a woman's brain of looking at how we primarily are looking for a mate. That's a massive turnoff. There's like almost a loss of communication here, a loss of openness about what's going on. And I think a way to deal with that is to get into real life and start talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I wanted to bring that up again because that really left a mark in my brain about, wow, the honesty of that young man and what is going on today.
It's a lack of confidence, maybe. It's fear. There's some things with that.
They need coaching.
Right.
That's what I keep thinking is that these young men need coaching up. And I am coaching more. You know, I'm a life coach. My branding was life coach for women because I've always seen women, but I've always seen men in my practice. Always have seen men as a therapist and as a coach. And I'm coaching men now, today, as we speak. They need coaching up. I was on a call a couple of weeks ago with parents of a college kid. And we were talking, and I was saying to them, your son needs coaching. He's got anxiety. Well, who doesn't have anxiety today? He doesn't meet clinical criteria for anxiety. He doesn't meet DSM-5 criteria for anxiety disorder. He doesn't have an adjustment disorder. He doesn't have a mood disorder. He's not depressed.
Yeah.
He's got anxiety. It's hard today. Yeah. Many kids have anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Some have a clinical depression. Some have a clinical anxiety disorder. Most don't. Most are struggling with living in 2025 and growing themselves up and trying to figure it all out. Those kids need coaching.
Right.
And I coach them up.
Because
I'm telling you, it's game changing, the work I do with them.
Yeah.
Game changing.
Because if they don't get coaching and they don't embrace coaching, then this happens. They shell up and they go into this other mode of like, I'll just figure it out myself and make some goofy choices. And in my mind, it's all good. And
my coaching clients love it because they're hearing from me in a way that no one else is going to speak to them. And they don't want to hear it from mom. They don't want to hear it. They're not hearing it from dad. They're not talking to their friends about these issues. They're just not. And if you can get coached up through a mentor, maybe through a community, wonderful for you. And that's the next part that we're going into, looking for that new way forward. That's wonderful. A small men's group that you could be a part of where you're talking about what's really going on in your life. And at the same time, that's a support group. Coaching is directive. Coaching moves the needle forward. So that's why I think coaching all day long. If any of you have ever been coached in a sport, your coach is like, go, get out there, run. No excuses, get going. I know you're tired, but you're going to go. You can run that last lap. You got it. You got one. Come on. You got 100 more yards. Go, do it. That's exactly what I do with my clients in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I mean, I've coached. It's game changing.
Yeah.
Game changing.
Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir, hopefully with most of you about the importance of coaching. I think it's really important. And of course, as always, psychotherapy, if you need it. Okay. So let's start by what we're going to do moving forward. Number one, we're going to reframe vulnerability. We're going to reframe vulnerability today for men as a part of being resilient. Vulnerability is a part of resilience. This is not about collapsing into weakness, but it's about sustainable strength. Sustainable strength, finding your strengths. And it's not going overboard. What's sustainable? What can you sustain? It's sustainable for me to be vulnerable. How are you going to show vulnerability? What's that look like for you? Okay, those are some really good coaching questions. How are you going to be vulnerable? What's that look like for you? Give yourself examples of this is what I'm going to do this week to show vulnerability, to be vulnerable to others, but really to myself.
And be okay with it, right? Like you're talking
and
about,
learn,
like embrace it.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. In the beginning, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's okay. You need to learn how to sit with it. And that's what I do in coaching is I help clients learn how to sit with it. And each client has different ways that we work with them on how to sit with it. Number 2, I would encourage you to work on relational practices. Like I just said a minute ago, join a men's group, go to a faith community. If you're in a faith community that promotes compassion over shame for men, really, really important. Men are carrying around a lot of shame and they're not talking about it. So join a community, join a group. If it's in your church, fine, that promotes compassion over shame. And friendships that go beyond just the sports and surface talk. Like you and I mean, we love sports. We love to talk football. We love to talk mostly football, but we'll talk all kinds of sports, golf, hockey, whatever it is that's going on because we love sports. And many of you right now are in the football season, can talk your fantasy football team, can talk about your team, talk about the whole NFL in general. Fine. But you got to find people you can go beyond that with. The NFL, football, that's fun. That's all of our recreation, our extracurricular activities. I'm all about it, completely support of it. But that's not where life really is.
Right.
Find guys that you can talk to where you could really talk about what's really going on in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're out there. You just got to.
They are out there.
You have to go.
But you got to go find it.
Search it.
And you got to search. And you may find one group that doesn't work for you. And you're like, okay, that kind of sucked. And I'm not. Okay. Try and try again. You don't stop there. Well, I did it once. Okay, do it twice. Do it 3 times. You got to make the effort. You got to get online. You got to find where the meetings are. What are you interested in? Find where the meetings are. When do they meet? What time is it? From 7 to 9 Wednesday night. Go. Where is it? Pull up on your phone, Google Maps, Waze, go there. Go. I know it can be hard to do, and you have to do it. We got to do hard things. I know that this is hard for many, many people. I know that. I went to a networking meeting last night. I didn't know a soul. And I'm an outgoing person. I didn't know a soul. I sat there with a glass of wine in my hand. Literally everybody, I sat there for 10 minutes while everybody around me at tables was talking in small groups of 3 and 4 women. People would look over at me and smile. Nobody came over. I just stood there by myself, feeling like a damn fool. And I did tell myself, if this continues another 5 minutes, I'm going to leave. I knew I wasn't going to leave. And I knew someone's going to come over. Someone's going to smile at me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to walk up to these groups. These people were like all in conversation. And then finally somebody walked in that I knew. And I like yelled her name, Susie, Susie. She was like looking. And I felt like I probably yelled a little too loud because I was nervous. Susie, hi. She's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I did. She's like, what are you doing here?
That's funny.
What are you doing here? Gave me a big hug. And that was it.
Yeah.
Then she knew, because she goes to this group and she knows a bunch of people, that was it. And the rest of the night, the next 2.5 hours, I was meeting people, networking, talking to people. And that was really hard for me. I was on the phone. You heard me on the phone talking to a good friend. Out the door, I'm coming. I gotta, I'll meet you there. I'm jumping in the shower. She calls me right back. I'm like, oh, I knew it. Phone rings. I'm not coming. I'm not going. I'm in sweats. I'm grubby. I'm not coming. I'm like, shit. So I'm like, I'm going. I paid the money. I'm going. And networking is really important to me. And I didn't know a soul. I have one friend I usually go with, and she wasn't going. And this other friend was going to go. She bailed out the last minute. She totally flaked on me. And I said, no, my hair, my makeup done, my outfit's on, I'm going.
Ready to go.
There you go. So I stood there for 10 minutes, people. Feeling like a damn fool.
Yeah.
But I did it. And you all can do it too. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you know what? I came home last night, 3 hours later, with 5 business cards, 2 people I'm having coffee and lunch with, 2 people who are looking for coaching, who are looking for the clients for coaching, and things are going. And I'm going to follow up and we're going to meet.
Yeah. Good.
So there you go.
That's good stuff.
Okay, so do that for yourself. Do that. I think pickleball is a great way today to meet people. So join a pickleball group. And maybe what'll happen is you all will go out for coffee after. If it's in the morning, maybe you'll go to a bar and have a beer. Maybe you're playing pickleball on a Monday night. Maybe you'll go watch the beginning of the football game, the Monday Night Football. That's how you're going to meet people. And you could talk a little bit about what you do, and they talk about what they do, and how many kids you have, and your wife, and where you live, and how long you've been at that company. That's where friendships start. And that's what's going to get you out of your house.
Yeah, totally.
Or what your girlfriend does. You can find a men's group for your age.
Oh,
yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay.
Without a doubt.
Okay. So number one, reframe vulnerability. Number two, I want you to really get out there and start having real life relationships with people. Look for the groups that are fit for you. Number three, I have to promote psychological literacy. All right. Mm-hmm. So psychological literacy is you going to therapy. It's you paying for and going and getting coached up. And it's you working on your self-awareness. Okay. Self-awareness is a big one. I think most of us think we're self-aware. You would be surprised that most of us are not self-aware. Self-awareness is something that is a lifelong learning experience. So get curious about your self-awareness and work on it. Okay. And you can work on that in so many different ways. One of them can be therapy and one of them can be coaching, but you can also work on that on your own. Books, podcasts, people in real life who can help you with your self-awareness. Asking people in your life, what is it they see about you that you don't seem to see? Those are hard questions. Those are great coaching questions, but ones that will really change you and really grow you up and mature you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just practice it. Go through the exercise of like, okay, I'm going to take a second and I'm going to just analyze myself right now.
Find ways to improve your EQ, your emotional intelligence. Find ways to improve it. Okay. And then number four, it's really important to acknowledge politics and race for men's mental health and the world we're living in today. Okay. So men's mental health solutions, we must account for systemic pressures, not just individual behavior. So yes, individual responsibility for your behavior. Yes, we all know, I think, and agree. At the same time, I do think that we also on a macro scale need to look at systemic pressures that men are feeling today. So masculine vulnerability 2.0, it's all about integration. Tough and tender and faithful and questioning, connected, not isolated. That's really important. Connected, not being isolated. Vulnerability is not the end of strength. It's the practice that makes strength sustainable.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's all about vulnerability, right? So whether you're navigating faith, fighting isolation in your own life, or you're struggling with shame, you need to know you are so not alone. All right. I hope that that helps. Know that you're not alone. Men's mental health, it's not a side note in society.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe we have treated it as a side note historically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a side note. It's a core issue. It's shaping families, workplaces, and our communities. So if you're listening to this and you're nodding like, I want you to know something. You're not weak for wanting connection, for struggling with loneliness, and for needing others. That's really important. You're not weak for struggling with being alone and feeling lonely, for needing other people, right? That's just human, part of the human condition, right?
And some of those stats that you threw out support the fact that you're not even remotely close to being alone in this, right?
To show vulnerability and to talk openly about it, that's masculine.
Yeah.
And that's strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I hope that this was helpful for all of you. I hope that it was just some psychoeducation and education around a little bit of what men are going through today. And if there's a guy in your life that you love, a nephew, a brother, a son, a husband, share this episode with them. Share these 2 episodes. I think at the very minimum, they will know, like we said, I'm not alone, and that people are talking about this. And there are people who are aware of this. There's therapists and coaches and moms and dads out there who are aware of this. And we care. We really care. And this episode, these 2 episodes, as all of them are, there to push the needle forward for you and to maybe give you the sign to go ahead and seek help with this if you need help.
I like it.
Okay. All right, everyone. Until next time, mad love. Have a good week, everyone.